Welcome to the Parenting with Confidence podcast. My name is Teresa Alexander Inman. I am your host. I am a board certified behavior analyst and infant toddler developmental specialist. Today, I am honored to have as my guest, Mr. Maccabee Griffin. And let me tell you guys, be prepared because he's just funny. For those of you who can see video, he's a voiceover actor, and it's on his shirt. It says he spends all day in a padded room talking to himself and get paid for it. So I just wanted to share that. But before that, Maccabee was in the Army, and he was medically released in 2015. And as he said, life has been a roller coaster of a journey down a road most refused to travel before deciding to become a voiceover actor. He was just like everyone else, okay? Working to survive, to take care of his family. And that family includes two boys on the spectrum, a 15 and a 16-year-old. So it's safe to say that life ain't easy because when you have children on the spectrum, it presents challenges. And we're going to go into that. But I want to talk, because what really got me here, Maccabee, was, and when God decided to use Dungeons and Dragons to inspire you to acting, to give acting another chance. And, and as he says, he's never looked back. Now, I think, and I really like that because I tell parents, meet children where they are. That's how they're going to grow. Whatever their gift is and what they're interested in. And you are a testament to that. You do Dungeons and Dragons, which I really have no idea what it is. I know it's a video game, but that's all I know about it. And you took that and to propel you into acting. So that's pretty amazing.
Well, I will correct you on two things. One,
okay.
It is 15 and 6. I have a 6-year-old that's on the spectrum and a 15-year-old that's on the spectrum.
Oh, I could have sworn I said that because I wrote down 15 and 6.
You said 15 and 16.
Oh, oops, sorry. Thank you.
The second thing is that Dungeons and Dragons originally started as a tabletop game back in the 70s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's been around for a long time. But yeah, to your question, it is interesting to be a father of two boys that are on the spectrum and them being completely different in so many ways. Mm-hmm. They have their own personalities just like every other child does. They have certain things that are the same. My oldest was diagnosed when he was 5. 3, 5, and 8. And he was diagnosed when it was just considered, each one was a specific diagnosis. So he was under Asperger's. Mm-hmm. And then about, I think it was around 5 years ago or so, they decided to put everything under the same umbrella of just autism spectrum disorder.
Yeah.
So my youngest was diagnosed when he was 3-4 years old. And he was diagnosed with not only being on the spectrum, but also with developmental delay as well as speech impairment as well. Mm-hmm. So it's fun. It's interesting. I don't know how I've gotten this far with the hair that I still have. That's why I grow it out on the chin instead of
I
up here.
see that because they had nothing.
It's a lot easier to deal with when you already know that you've got hair missing from the places that you've torn it out. But it's fun because even though they have different personalities and different likes at this moment, you can really tell the difference in their personalities. My oldest loves to create. He is actually, in reality, teaching himself how to be a game designer because he works on code for on some specific video games that help to teach him code. He is always working on creating digital music, which, by the way, he is always putting up on his Patreon. And I'll give you that information if people want to help him out. And he is also digitally drawing stuff as well. So with him, it's just creative. That's all he wants to do. He actually tells us when he's working on this stuff, he's like, I am working. This is my job. Yeah. And we have to remind him that he's still 15.
Right.
That it's not really a job yet until he gets everything else out of the way. Right. But my 6-year-old is a mimic. He does a lot of scripting, but because of the way he does his scripting, and for those who don't know what that means that a child will listen to something over and over and over again, or watch a video over and over again. They'll push it up to like a couple seconds, start it over again. A couple seconds, start over again. Maybe go a little bit longer and start it all over again. And what they do is they will tell you, or they can actually know exactly what lines are being said, who's saying it, and how they are saying it, even with their movements. So that's a straight mimic, in which many of the people that when he was taking ABA, which is analytic behavioral analysis therapy, they were always telling us, like, he's going to be you when he gets older. He's going to be an actor because that's exactly what he's doing right now.
Right. So that is amazing. And thank you for that, because, children, all of them, I don't care what their diagnoses are, they have gifts, and we can help develop those gifts within our children. And the gifts are, like I said before, they're usually what the child is interested in.
Yeah.
Like their gift is really aligned with that. So our job as parents is to guide them through that, instead of saying, oh no, don't do this, don't do that. Like my mom wanted me to be an attorney. And I was like, Mom, I don't want to be a lawyer. Like, I don't want to do all that reading. That's just boring for me. Yes, I know people who are attorneys and they love it, but I did not want to be that person. She tried to bribe me, I'll pay for your school if you, I was like, no. Well, how about a doctor? No. I want to do what I want to do, because I wouldn't be good at any of those things because it's not what I want to do.
Yep.
And it's really important that parents recognize that, instead of, oh, well, do this, do that. No, just let the child, because sometimes, speaking to a colleague of mine earlier, when you allow children to just be, it's amazing what you learn from them. You just observe them and you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't think they knew how to do this. I didn't think. And it's just the most exciting time ever, just watching them navigate through challenges and, and just all these different, just navigate the world, go through obstacles, go around them, behind them, above them.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And it's just like you, it's, at one point, my parents were like, okay, we understand that you want to do this, you want to be an actor, but you have to get other things in line first so that you have something to fall back on. And it's just something that us as parents just really want. We want our children to be able to take care of themselves, but we also want them to be somewhat realistic in the idea that you're not the only one most likely going after this, and you're still going to have to try to survive, because I'm not going to take care of you for the rest of your life. It ain't going to happen. I mean, come on. But it is the idea still that we do want to embrace their thoughts, their personality, their lives in general. And I know it's a generational thing that as we were growing up, that's exactly what their parents were saying. Our parents were saying, our grandparents were saying to our parents, so I can speak. So it was just something that went through the generations. And for us, it's one of those that we finally started to wake up and like, I want you to do what makes you happy, but you have to be smart about it, because you have to still take care of yourself. And you have to understand it's not going to be an easy road. for a lot of people, it's really not an easy road, especially if you start talking to people who are dealing more with the creative stuff, the creative industry, the entertainment industry in general. As if someone wants to be a mechanic, it's a lot easier because of the fact that there's so many cars out there. There's always going to be something that's going to break on them. So it's easy for them to find a job. When you have the trades, it's a lot easier. By the way, for all those who think trade jobs are stupid, let me tell you right now, as someone who actually did carpentry before he got into the military and went to school for it, they make pretty good money.
Yes.
The fact is that trades actually can make six figures in a year comparative to someone that's doing an office job. So don't ever tell anybody that they can't do that because it's not fashionable enough or it's not popular enough. Trust me, those jobs are as important as anybody else, and sometimes even more.
Absolutely, because who's going to build our houses? Who's going to, fix our cars and do all these things? And right now, there's actually a shortage of people in the trades. So it's even more lucrative to get into trades. And if that's what your child wants to do, let them. There's nothing wrong with it. There's no taboo with, working in trades. If they're happy doing it, they could own a company and, employ other people, do things like make a big, make a change in the world. So, yeah.
It's one of the greatest things when you can look out and you can see your son or daughter being in the trades.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, I love when I hear a young lady is wanting to be a part of the trades, because we need more women in the trades.
Absolutely.
Women have a lot. They're better at problem solving than men are. We can visualize it, but we can't communicate it properly sometimes. So for me, every job, every career, every passion is worth following. You just have to understand the difficulties on whatever road you're going to be in. You got to understand the requirements that you're going to have to go through and to hit before you actually get to that level of success that you feel is, I'm happy. I found my joy, my daily joy. So.
Absolutely. And at the end of the day, that's what it's about, finding that joy. And I'm not going to find joy in what you want me to do. I'm going to find joy in what I want to do, where my interests lie. I'm going to ask you though, Maccabee, how did you feel when your children were first diagnosed with an autism spectrum disorder?
It was a shock for at least our first one. The second one, we knew it straight up.
Mm-hmm.
When he started to show certain signs like lining things up or being able to do certain things that he shouldn't at his age, or even at this point being behind on certain things, we knew exactly what was going on. But with our first one, it was really, it was a shock, and it was almost really difficult because when you're brought up a certain way of being corrected and being taught, and you try to do that to your child, it's completely different. It is a more stressful life than your average normal neurological child, because their abilities, and I hate using the word disability, so I say
too. Yes.
Because they have ability to do a lot of things, like drive you crazy, to show you things that you didn't know they could do or you could go through. But most importantly, they have the ability to express things that you've forgotten how to do.
Right.
So again, at the beginning, it was really hard to go through that. I was trying to listen to so many different people instead of, myself, my wife, and my son.
Yes.
Comparative to when it came to so many different things, and having the military background as well, your child is going through all these deployments with you. He was born on my first deployment, and when I got there, he was I went on a couple of days prior to the due date. However, he didn't come out until the day I was supposed to leave. So they gave me 5 days to be with him. But then I had to go back, and I came back. He was 9 months. So there was not that real connection that I have with my other one, my youngest now. And so over the years, it's been a little bit more difficult, especially when it came to, the discipline side. It's a little bit more difficult when it comes to the food and medicine and stuff like that. And because of those faults that I had with him, we have a gap between us sometimes. He is more of me at that age than anything else, which is really painful sometimes, because we both have that mentality of just out, temper, stuff like that. So we butt heads all the time. But the one thing that you will understand as they grow up is it does get somewhat easier because you get in a certain routine. You start to learn certain things, educating yourself each day about new research out there, new therapies, even just listening. Out of all the things, listening to your child, and watching them, how they express themselves, makes it a lot easier. So again, it was hard at first, but over the years, again, it's gotten a little bit easier. And because of the traps that I put myself in with my oldest, it's made my life a lot easier when raising my youngest.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that, because I know I've worked, I practice ABA, and I work with a lot of families, and I know a lot of times, they tell me it's almost like they felt like they lost the child that they wanted. They didn't get the child that they wanted. So there's grief attached to it. And there's anger because, of all the different things. But my thing is, when you embrace what you have, as one of my guests once said to me, that's you get the child that you need, not the child that you want.
Amen to that.
So that really.
Sweet tea, by the way.
Yeah. All good.
I swear I'm not all the time. I swear.
You are too funny. And it's so important to be able to laugh through it all, right? Like the stress,
Yeah. You have to find some type of humor when you're under stress 24/7, especially if you're a stay-at-home parent. Yeah. I'm a stay-at-home dad. My wife is a radiation therapist. And thankfully, between my pension and her paycheck, we can actually get through this stuff. Everything else that I receive when I actually have a project makes it a lot easier. But we struggle still as much as anybody else does. But yeah, you have to have some type of humor. You have to find it, or you will.
Sorry. Oh, my dogs, they're just
good. You're good. Hey, trust me. This is life, people. This is real life. Let me tell you. Okay?
That it is. And I'm not even editing it out because it's real life, and I'm just gonna leave it alone.
Why?
Yeah, because normally they just lie here and sleep because they just want to be where I'm, and they just lay on the floor and sleep. But my husband's outside doing some weed eating and such, and they're like, okay, they want to say hello. So anyway, I want to ask, so what is the biggest lesson that your children have taught you?
Well, I can't say patience because they're still teaching me that one. Finding your joy. Finding the thing that really makes you happy. Happiness is just a effect that comes with joy. It's a but when you can find your joy in what you're doing, it makes life a lot easier. There was a long time that I was not happy with my life. I went into military, I was retired instead of retiring at 20. I wasn't able to hit my 10. I wasn't able to hit the rank that I was wanting to. I wasn't able to stay in school to continue on because of mental health issues. And then I wasn't able to stay with a job that I thought that I wanted. I had a career in mind. I always thought acting as just a hobby, and that was it. But over the years, it just felt like I wasn't happy. And then once I started to do this and stay on this road, that happiness started to come back, that joy started to come back. And it's actually led me into other things. So now, not only am I a voice actor, I'm also a podcast host of Beyond the Pen. I'm also a creative writer. I actually create characters that I have to run by my kids, for one thing. Just, if they don't like it, trust me, no one's not going to like it. If they like it, I know it's going to be liked.
Right.
But I create characters, not only the voices, but I also create the backstories for them. I create fictional events for authors to use. I do this, and if I didn't, I don't know what I'd be doing. If I was not doing this pathway, going down this road, then I'd probably still be working at a 9-to-5 job that was going to literally drive me insane. And I have to thank my kids on that, because they're the ones, besides my wife, I have to say, I've been with the same woman for almost 20 years.
Wow.
And the fact that she's stuck with my hard, I'm trying to pick the words that I really want to say, stubborn, my stubborn butt. I don't think I would be where I'm at right now. I'm 42 years old. I've been through hell and high water. And I've been lucky to have the family I have, even though sometimes they drive me nuts and I drive them nuts, just like any is. We still love each other and care for each other. So I think definitely finding your joy is what they've taught me the most.
That is so beautiful. And thank you for sharing that, because so many parents, they're so focused on taking care of their children that they don't seek to find their own joy. And they almost feel guilty doing things that bring them joy. So thank you for sharing that, because as a stay-at-home dad with 2 children on the spectrum, I mean, it's stressful without even, it's stressful. It goes without saying that it is stressful. And the fact that you're able to find joy and do some things for yourself, which is not selfish, it's actually selfless. And Jenny Lytle, she was a hospice nurse. I interviewed her yesterday, and she said, self-care, you'd be selfish if you don't engage in self-care.
Yeah, absolutely. And, there's a lot of times where I have to try to figure out how to do my self-care, because it is I get up early. Thankfully, over the summertime, I've been happy to get at least a couple of extra hours of sleep, but I also stay up a couple of extra hours after everybody else is asleep, to have my alone time, and even sometimes during that point, I'm still working on other things, or I'm thinking up other things, thinking of other characters to present to authors, or to find other guests to be on my show, or even just putting out information and through everything and anything about me being here. But for my kids, I've noticed that, and here's where that selfless comes into effect. When your children notice that you have a passion for what you're doing, even though sometimes you're not being able to spend as much time with them as you would like, they start to notice that when you have a passion for something and you're happy and they're happy, you're working hard to take care of them and your partner, it is something that actually drives them to go after their passion. Passion inspires passion. Negativity inspires negativity. If you want to put so much passion into your kids, show them that you have a passion for what you do.
We have to stop right there because I don't want to mess this up with another question. That is a period, punctuation, like exclamation mark, because that is so true. And thank you for saying that, because again, parents, they don't want to do something for themselves. They don't want to enjoy life. And as they don't want to, they don't know how to. So thank you for sharing that, because we become our parents. And if you see your child doing something, if your child sees you doing something, they're like, oh, wow. So thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Right.
I have my moments of wisdom sometimes.
And thank you for sharing them with us. So you have like 1 minute to give us one last word and then we're out.
Fine. There was a gentleman on TikTok, and he always says at the end of his things, find your joy. Mm-hmm. For me and my podcast, I've learned from the people that I talk to on a daily basis or listen to or watch or whatever the case may be. You need to always look inside of yourself, find your passion, use that passion to not only inspire the next generation, but you need to share it as well. That's why when I'm on my podcast, Beyond the Pen, I always say, keep writing, keep inspiring, and keep sharing as you go beyond the pen.
All right, I'm dropping the mic. Actually, I dropped the pen, so hey, it's all good.
Simple. Very, very simple to do stuff.
That's right. So thank you so much. People, check out Beyond the Pen. And we'll see you soon, Maccabee, right? We're going to do this again?
What? Of course, darling. Anytime you need.
Thank you. God bless you. Thank you. And I wish you and your family well.
Oh, thank you. Bye.
You're welcome. Bye. Oh my gosh.